Okay. Hi. They can hear me though. Oh God. Okay. Okay. Yeah. hmm
Alrighty, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have now started. We are now on episode 2 of the Old Man and RBC, and today's special guest I have the owner of the Montreal Islanders, JsXLI. Welcome.
Oh.
Yeah, man. So we've been planning this for quite some time. Just had a little schedule conflicts, but glad to have you on the show, and glad to just chat it up with you. I mean, you're probably one of the people in RBC who I can just talk about anything with, even if we have our own disagreements and arguments. So just glad to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, why don't you start us off? I mean, you're the younger brother of Ash Lemmer. How did you end up finding out about the RBC? I'm gonna assume it's through him, and what made you join and stay in the league so long?
Well, I think I'm from what I remember is Ash found RBC. I don't even know how he found it, but he played in it in season 2. And then in season 3, he said, "I'm owning. You should join, and I can sign you." And he did. And I basically was a bandit for the longest time for like 3 consecutive seasons where I learned more and more about the game. And I really enjoyed it. Like it was very fun to play, especially in the old days of RBC. Like season 3 through 9 were like honestly some of the best seasons you'll probably be in. Granted, I was like really young. Like I was 9 when I was in RBC, like when I first started. So I needed to get good, which it took me a bit, but here I am, and I'm just sticking around, especially because of COVID. And, like that basically gave me a reason to stay around and play some more.
So you started this when you were 9 years old.
I was, yeah, because like RBC's what 7, and 7 years ago I'm 15 now, so I was around 9. Yeah, I was really young, and I was on mobile for the longest time, and then I moved to a crappy Windows laptop, and then a while after that, Ash got his own computer, so I used the computer he used, and that's when my skill level actually started increasing. And then I got my own personal computer, and that's where season 9 to now, where I've started to show my skill level. Like you can definitely see where I am skill wise, and I've probably had my MVP caliber season right here, and I'm actually kind of glad that it's now instead of never because I could possibly win MVP when this is the last season that I think is going to happen with
Yeah,
RBC.
yeah, no kid. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say you're probably one of the top 3 candidates. But it's kind of been a little confusing. Usually we should have our stats, but it's just been a weird season so far in terms of like board of directors, statistics, all that stuff. So I mean,
Tell me about it.
but based off the eye test, I could definitely say that in the RL, you're one of the players who was able to improve the most from last season. If there was a most improved player award, and I had a
There is.
ballot. Yeah, there is.
The Ash Schlemmer most improved, I think it is.
Yep. So I mean, you would have my ballot there. Just, but it's been a heck of a season so far. But anyways, back to season 3. You started off with the Bandits, and you're with the Bandits for 3 straight seasons. You said.
Yeah, I was with the Bandits through well, no, 4 actually. I can't count. Um, it was 4 seasons where the Bandits were always in the postseason, except for season 5. We were unlucky to get it, and Ash actually brought up a good point. He kept complaining about it, how the Bandits were 8-8 in that season, didn't make the playoffs. But over in the Metro League, the Reapers were 4-12 and they got in, and Ash was not happy about that. But yeah, it was. We always made the playoffs. They were always in the RLCS, but it wasn't until season 6 where we actually like advanced to the World Series and played against the Spartans.
Yeah, yeah. And that was Season 6 Spartans are considered to be one of the greatest teams, if not the greatest team in RBC. So just unfortunate. But I think you guys took them to 6 games or 7
It
games?
was we won the first two, and then it all went downhill from there. We lost four straight after that, and there's still controversy to this day that Doug exiled WoW just because we went down, we went up in the series, and claimed it was for toxicity. Which honestly, if that happened today, and if we actually had a board, the board probably wouldn't have allowed it. But since back then the board really didn't do much as it used to do, when we had a board of directors, it definitely would have passed. Like we would have been like, no, you don't know, you don't get to do that.
Yeah, no. Speaking on the WoW exilation, that's been even brought up even to this season, to this day, and so that I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, what even happened? Because I was there, obviously. I played for the season 6 Spartans, but I wasn't at every single game, and it was a while back, so it's a little, my memory doesn't really, it's not all there. That's why they call me the old man, but. Just what happened? You guys were up 2-0, and then like what was WoW doing for?
I don't know. It was WoW. I think the main reason that we pointed the finger, basically saying why WoW was the biggest issue, is because WoW was our ace pitcher, and he was what really was giving Nas a hard time. And then after WoW gets exiled, Nas wins 10-0, 20-4, 11-0, 18-0. I have the legacy spreadsheet up as we were talking about it. There was all of those it was close. Charlotte kept going out in front by one run, and then our pitcher disappears, and then they start winning by double digits. There was never a game where WoW was in the league where we lost by more than one in the World Series. So I think definitely that had one thing to do with it, and that was also like the very beginning of a lot of people's careers in season 6, especially like for me. That was like the birth of right before I started becoming the player that everyone knows today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. I remember WoW being one of the top players, and he was one of Ashlimmer's like go-to players. Like they were always on the same team for most of the seasons. So it's kind of weird how he just had this downfall. He's definitely not the same player he used to be. Past his prime, unfortunately, I think it's due to his lag. But I would say that World Series, just based off of that, is definitely one of the most controversial World Series. I mean, think about it. Charlotte Bandits up 2-0, taking firm control, right? That leaves a game like a couple games at least for WoW to continue pitching, where he certainly rattled the Spartans. So you don't ban him. There's a clear argument that the Bandits end up winning that World Series, and it changes the whole dynamic of your career, Ashlimmer's career, the Spartans being known as a dynasty and the greatest team. Like, it changes RBC history overall. So it's just one of those crazy things you look back at, and it's just like, what if, and so,
Yeah.
But you moving on from that season 7, that one was a little confusing because
That one was a mess because
yeah, go ahead.
I remember the issue. One issue was RBC's tools were broken in a Roblox update overall, and that's kind of what caused RBC to come back. Is Doug was like, okay, I can fix it, because originally the tools broke, the league went quiet. We tried to bring it back. The tools were okay, but then the league went quiet again. But then the third attempt of season 7, the tools were almost completely fixed, and the league was just having issues activity-wise and skill-wise, because it was literally I think a year gap where no one could practice, no one could do anything because the league went completely silent. And so that's what caused season 7 to be a World Series between two RL teams, was because the RL had this stacked teams, because both NAS and I think it was the Crosscutters dissolved, and NAS was 2-7, so we weren't even that good. But it was Boomer Energy, dude, it was so long ago. Season 7 was so long ago compared to 2022. Season 7 was in 27, 18. I don't remember. Let me look. but it was a long time ago, and it was just so different. And after that season, that's when season 8 came in and basically saved the league because it changed the whole aspect of this is that, and like this is when this happened, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember season 7. I'm pretty sure it was either during my junior or my senior year of high school. And I was the owner of the Pittsburgh Industrials for
Oh my god.
whichever version there was, and that's when
That
I
would have been version 2?
yeah, something like that. And that's when I had Scardina.
Yeah.
I had I can't remember his username. He's the owner of the PBL now.
It was
But
either version 2 or version 1. But
yeah,
Pittsburgh, fun fact about the Industrials, they were originally the Bandits. Like, they were. The Industrials was the Bandits being relocated.
right,
Because, like, they were like, alright, let's leave Charlotte, we're going to Pittsburgh now.
right.
But then the league went silent, so we never really actually, like, stayed the Industrials. Like, I even have my old uniform from the Industrials because it was an official change.
Honestly,
But,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that blows my mind how long ago that was.
Yeah, the Industrials, I'm not gonna lie, they're probably one of my favorite designs of teams. I mean, I liked their uniforms, the logo, everything. It was so unique in its own ways, and I love the colors of black and yellow.
Yeah.
But
Bees.
that was definitely one of the weirdest seasons. But season 8, what team did you end up going to?
Well, season 8 was the start of what people called the ring chasing, or me being a ring chaser. Because back in season 8, I started with not the Yankees, the New York Skyliners.
Yep.
I had to own them because they disappeared, because Parker retired on us first time, and then Carm didn't take ownership, and I was, that was, season 8, it's like 2019, I think. So that was like 4 years ago. I was only 11. I didn't have ownership experience like you see today. So that happened, and then I was like, I can't. I went to Boston, was doing really well, but then got absolutely shit on by like my entire team. So I demanded release, didn't get it, but Doug did a presidential pardon and freed me. And then I went to Rock Valley for the remainder of the season, but then I got basically shoved to Gas City as a punishment for some sort for being toxic, even though I actually helped the team. As Gas City was one game away from elimination, which is the only reason I hated being I hate being transferred. I almost helped win game 2 of the RLDS, but I didn't. But we didn't. We got swept by Omaha. But then that was where I ended the season with Gas City. But it was overall a crazy season. It was basically the birth of my career. Like I think it was the true season of where I kicked off where I am today.
So not only that, but that was your first season being separated from Ashlimmer, correct?
Yeah, other than the mess of season 7, because I was on NAS for season 7, and that really didn't mean much because it was the shortest season. It was a mess. It didn't really do much. But season 8 was truly the first season where I was not with Ash.
Right. Yeah. So that's one of the things is, you know, you guys. He came in season 2. Obviously, he got you to come season 3, and you know you guys were on the same team for a couple seasons, and then season 8 comes around, and you guys finally go on your own separate ways. What team was Ashlimmer on? What team was
season
Ashlimmer?
8? Season 8. Ash was a bandit. He still he continued to own the bandits, but the only reason I think I didn't get picked from the bandits is because I got picked early in the draft.
Right.
And I think the bandits used a protection. I can actually check that. Like because originally back in season 8, you could save a player from your team from last season. You would just lose your first round pick, and that's what I think. That's what Ohio did. Yeah, the bandits actually no, the bandits didn't do that. The bandits selected Xavier, but I was picked beforehand, so it didn't work. So
Right.
I probably would have been a bandit if I didn't get snagged by the Skyliners, and I probably could have had a different career if that did. But honestly, in hindsight, I'm glad I did.
Do you feel like before this season, maybe even before season 11, have you ever felt that your skill and your talent, what you bring to the team and the league itself, have you ever felt like you were at times overshadowed or just known as, oh, he's just Ash's little brother?
Yes, all the time. Like, still did. Because for the longest time, like, I think the only time I really got, like, recognized was in Season 9, because that was when Mac picked me up and was like, you can be a true threat, because people don't expect you to be who you are. And I ended up being a clutch machine in the playoffs. Like, oh my goodness. I walked off... It's funny, because in Season 9, I walked off Game 1 of the RLCS, I hit the lead, the home run that gave us the lead, and I batted in the run that basically led us to the World Series. So I was truly a major threat in the RLCS, which got us to the World Series. And then again in the World Series, I hit 2 home runs off of Ash in Game 1 and then in Game 7, and that proved to be crucial because Game 1 it was the first pitch off of Ash, like first pitch of the game. And it basically gave the team momentum to, hey, we can do this. We can beat RBC, which we did. Took us a while, but we did. So, yeah, it's just changed so much of how much people think. Oh, he's just Ash's brother. He isn't even that good. To he's an MVP caliber player. Like I still get overshadowed today, actually.
Correct me if
Like
correct me if I'm wrong, but Season 9, that was the Mount Adam Knights, Rock Valley Cougars, and wasn't Ash on the Rock Valley Cougars?
Ash originally was the head coach for the Cougars, but then Spart was like, I'm done, and then left, and Ash owned them. So Ash was the owner of Rock Valley for the longest time, like for the rest of the season, and I was just a player on the Knights. So we did play against each other in the World Series.
Right.
So
that was like pretty much your first time. The first time it was the brother versus brother World Series, and it was the first time you were able to show like, hey, like I'm my own person, I'm my own talent, like I can do this, you know? That was
yeah.
And eventually, I mean, obviously the Mount Adam Knights won, and honestly the Season 9 Mount Adam Knights, that was with Alex, it was with you, let's see who else was.
It was Alex, AJ, Squeaker, me, Cyber, which he was a strong force in the outfield. Twirtle, and I think that and Flacco was there for a little bit, but then he got released because he was being dumb.
Right. Honestly, like you look back, because you can tell me. I mean, you know more of the history more than I do. When did the Star Cap era start? Was that Season 8 or Season 9?
Season 9.
Season 9. So
yeah,
you look back at the Season 9 Mount Adam Knights, the first season of the Star Cap, and that list of names, that's arguably one of the best Star Cap teams so far. I mean, like Alex, despite what he's gone through within the league, before he got exiled, in my opinion, was the best player in the league. So you take
100%.
You take him, you know, and then Cool Gunner or Cyber SF. He was one of the like unknown prospects, and what's funny about Cyber is no one really knew who he was. You know, like it was just you guys had a couple people that no one really had high on their list, and you transformed them, such as 22 Twirtle and Cool Gunner, and even Flacco for a little bit. But I mean, there's just certain owners that can take those types of players and maximize their total potential within the league. And I don't know, that's one of the things that I respected about Alex, was because every year he was the owner, like his team was competitive every single season. Even Season 10 Mount Adam Knights, before he left and then came to Unionport, they were one of the hardest teams. And even Season 11, the Rock Valley Cougars, when he was on their team, they were one of the most difficult teams. So honestly, there was a time when I was with him on Unionport in Season 10, and I learned a lot from him. So I can't imagine, like, he took some time to work with me behind the scenes, like one-on-one. And because of him, it actually helped me when I decided to become an owner myself, because I wanted to do the exact same thing, help my players one-on-one, try to maximize their potential. So that being said, did he kind of do the same thing for you? Like, how was your relationship with Alex, during Mount Adam Nights and from that point forward?
Um, it was I can't really remember as it was 2 years ago actually. Like the World Series Game 7 was only a month ago. 2 years ago, like from a month ago. It wasn't that long. It was long ago. But we were like chill. We were like good. We were like good pals. But like the closeness that we had was him realistically making me a better player. Like if I was not on Mac in season 9, I don't think I would be where I am today because I wouldn't have been thought of the potential I had because I wouldn't have been on a team that would have been like had my back. Because Alex had my back the entire season if I was having a rough time or if I was if I was doing just fine, like he would always be like the coach that would make sure I'm not losing my mind, but I'm also not like stressing out or anything. Like he would always make sure I'm where I want to be and where I want to go. Like I don't think I could have done my season 9's growth without him. And that's saying something as he got exiled 2 seasons later for using exploits, so yikes.
So then, moving on from season 9, you end up going back to season 10, and you go from, I think you went back to the Bandits. Am I?
I was signed by the Spartans originally, and then I was like realizing I got no outfield time, so I was like, if you can find a team that needs an outfielder, which I did. And then I got sent to West Virginia, and then and this is what got me suspended for 3 games, is I told Josh, I said, dude, you cannot be arguing with Xavier over the stupidest things in the world, because they were arguing over jersey sleeves. And I said, listen, I don't want to be on a team that's going to have the head coach and the owner arguing over jersey sleeves. That's not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
Technically, I was right. However, they did win the RLCS, but that's after Josh got rid of Xavier, got rid of me, but then pointed the blame at me, which got me suspended, which is where West Virginia thrived. But yeah, it was a pain. But yeah, that was where I went season 10, and then season 11 I was with the Bandits all season.
So what I was gonna end up going on was, I have to ask you about the season 10 playoffs. I mean, the Charlotte Bandits were the #1 seed in the RLs, and they're playing the West Virginia Mountaineers, who just beat the Ohio Warhawks. Now, if anyone remembers season 10, it was the Ohio Warhawks, correct?
It was Ohio, it was Ohio versus West Virginia in the RLDS.
Right. So the Ohio Warhawks, I believe they started off like pretty hot start, but then all their players just left. I believe that was a whole Old Jenner squad team.
Yeah, it was the Old Jenner squad.
It was because it was Ryan, it was PK, that entire team was the Old Jenners, and they ended up just leaving the league. Conveniently, they did the same thing with the Las Vegas Rattlers, which is unfortunate. But so the West Virginia Mountaineers, they ended up defeating the Ohio Warhawks. They swept them 3-0, and on their team they had High Josh, they had who else? They had Doog.
Hang on, I'll tell you who they had. I got the stat sheet right here. West Virginia had Carm, Broken, High Josh, Ryan Priest, Weehawk, JS123, and that was and Doog and Hyro. So those 2 rookies, Doog and Hyro, were pretty much some key players. But Broken in his prime, Josh being a good owner, and then Carm being Carm, because this was before the zone was implemented, so Carm's style was still unbeatable. And that's realistically what got them to the World Series, but the Suns were just like basically like waiting for it to happen, and the Suns absolutely, I wouldn't say slaughtered, but they showed to be the better team.
Well, yeah, that was the thing about Carm. I mean, for anyone who's new to the RBC or who doesn't really know the RBC history, Carm is one of the most goated pitchers simply because he mastered the technique of unpredictability and mastered like just overall he always had something new. I mean, we made a rule because of some of his antics, which was like spamming tools, and stuff like that. So Carm going to West Virginia definitely was one of the biggest parts of their pitching rotations. But the one thing I wanted to ask you was, West Virginia was not favorited to beat the Charlotte Bandits in the championship series,
No, they
and
weren't.
I believe they won 3-1.
Correct.
So I mean, just can you just kind of tell me like what was the behind the scenes like? I mean, I know Ashlammer is usually pretty calm and collected behind the scenes, at least so far, being his teammate this season. But what was it like being the voice channel, the Discord with your teammates, just kind of letting go, and West Virginia ended up winning. What was that like?
Well, it was a lot less stressful than it probably would have been. Because Ash knows how to keep his team calm, especially even if they're losing a playoff series. Like that's one thing Ash is a great owner about. Is regardless, like especially during the World Series, he always kept his cool. Like he never got truly mad unless an umpire blew an insanely obvious call. Keaton, love you and all, but he wanted your head a lot.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of those things, but it was truly just he knew how to keep calm, so it wasn't really stressful. Well, at least for him and for like the team's morale, it wasn't stressful. For me personally, my heart wouldn't stop beating like recklessly because nerves and everything. But yeah, it's nothing. It's yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, when we defeated the Spartans, and that was a best of 5. Like it was 3-2. Definitely one of the hardest fought series so far in that season. But we were full on expecting like, all right, it's gonna be Charlotte, gonna face Ash, and we were ready. I mean, Ash, I would say, is probably one of the smartest players I've ever played with. Everyone likes to call him Mr. Rulebook, but
I mean, you're not wrong.
No,
you're not wrong.
It's like that man just randomly will just come out with the craziest, like according to Rule 1.2.2, and I was like, yo, there's no way that this man just knows it at the top of his head. So we were just full on ready. We were like, all right, we're gonna face Charlotte Bandits.
We're ready for his bull. No, but that's the thing. It's because he wrote it, but then it was edited. But since he wrote it, he kind of has like a memory to it. But yeah, there was definitely some times where the rulebook being your friend was awesome, but then there was times where the rulebook wasn't your friend, it was wrong. Because there's just things, especially this season, where Ash has created some random rule. And some people believe him because he knows the rule book better than anyone else, probably better than the commissioner himself. But like I know people have started to like stop believing his random stuff. Like unless it's been a known call that he's saying, people don't believe it as much. So that's a good sign for the good sign. But yeah, he oh my god, like randomly anything would happen against the Bandits. 5 seconds later, that man just spouted out a rulebook number, and said, "Go look at it," and then would copy and paste what it says inside into the game, and the ump would go, "Oh yeah, look at that. That's a rule," and then that's it.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. There was a couple times where that would happen, and it happened even like when we played against you guys in the Season 11 World Series, and that's what I was gonna lead up with. So, game 1, you guys ended up winning. Charlotte Bandits versus Uniport Suns. You guys ended up winning. I believe the score was 2-1.
No, I think it was 5-1.
5-1.
It was. I think it was because Crazy hit a clutch grand slam.
Oh, that's right. It was like tied for the longest.
It was. It was 4-1 or 5-1. I'll check because it was. It was 4-2. You guys were winning by 2 runs, and then Crazy hit a grand slam, and I don't remember if it was the bottom of the 4th or bottom of the 5th, but he hit a grand slam, which gave us the win.
So what was crazy about that first game was me and Tough, like we ended up talking about it later on once the series was way over, but one of the craziest parts of that game was, as soon as we lost, like I I mean, I didn't admit it, and Tough didn't admit it until after the series. But we were like, "Yo, we're in some trouble." Like we were like, it was like a slap to the face. Like it woke us up. It's like, "Oh shit! Like this shit's for real." Like we're
Yeah.
we're really in it for this series. And even game 2, game 3, game 4, like those games were all super close. Like those, it was not an easy. It was not a walk in the park or anything. Like
Oh yeah.
everything was separated by like one RNG home run. You know, because I look back to whatever
The
streams
scores
it
for
was.
game 2 were 8-4, but it was super close until Squeaker hit a grand slam. Notice how these X on now. Game 3 was a walk-off single by Tough, 3-4. Again, it was close. And then game 4, which realistically I think lowered Bandit's morale, we lost 6-5 because Squeaker hit a walk-off home run. So it basically lowered our morale. Because I remember game 4 was a pain because we were down, but then we got up in the 5th because I think I hit a home run and someone was on base, and that gave us the lead. And then Squeaker hit basically just ruined it, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But then game 5, we basically had no answers for you guys at that point because you pretty much figured out everything that basically caused us to be where we were and caused us to get to the World Series, and y'all won 7-0 and won the World Series there. So there was that painful series.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was basically season 11 for you. The World Series was close until the last game. So yeah, 100% deserved it.
No, yeah. So what I was gonna say was just like a lot of people. I mean, especially like looking back at it before the title was stripped. I mean, a lot of people would look at it and just saw the series score of 4-1, right? But
Yeah, no one looks at how close the games actually
yeah,
are, though.
and even game 2, the score was 8-4. Like you would think, like, oh, they won pretty, by a good margin. But no, like the bottom, I believe, no. I think we had.
It was like the final inning.
No, but you guys had bases loaded, and we're like, okay, a home run will tie this and go take us to extra innings, and we did not want that to happen. So people don't understand, like, that was actually an extremely close series, and like you said, Game 5 was probably the only series where it was like just just dominance, I guess.
Yeah.
But that series had us on our toes for sure, and it's funny. It's funny. People might not know this, but season 11, there was a high chance I was gonna sign to the Charlotte Bandits.
I hated you so much for that.
Yeah. So what's crazy about that was I messaged Ashlimmer. I was like, "Yo, do you have any spots? Like, do you want to play together?" And he told me, he was like, "I already got my guys, but I'll let you know." So I was like, "All right, okay." So I talked with Chris or Spartan, and there was a chance I was gonna go to the Cougars. And because me and Tough, we both knew that based off season 10, we really just wanted to continue playing with each other. We liked playing with each other. So I talked to Chris, but he already talked with Alex. So me and Tough were like, okay, there's really not a whole lot of spots with the star cap system except Unionport, and I think it was Cincinnati Squadron. So we're just like, all right, let's run him back. But had Ashlimmer have told me, like, when I asked him originally, because he was the first person I asked, had he told me, like, yeah, let's do it, I would have been a Charlotte Bandit that season. And I think Tough Stuff would have been on board too. But like I said, Ash already had his guys. But
Yeah.
When it came to signing, Ash, he didn't end up signing anyone. Like he offered people, but the people he offered ended up going elsewhere. And Rockefeller, he ended up messaging me. He's like, hey, let's go to Charlotte together. But I already had made a commitment to go to Unionport with Squeaker, myself, and Tough.
Yeah.
And I just look back at that, and I think it's very insane of how different the RBC would be had myself and Ashlimmer have teamed up season 11. I'm not saying like, oh, we'd win the World Series and all that, but just the whole dynamic of the RBC. Like, maybe the stance is never founded, like it's just never a thing. All that stuff. It's crazy how the smallest of things can change it. But what I wanted to ask, because obviously you ended up being on the Bandits.
Yeah.
What was Ashlimmer upset? Like, what happened?
I don't think he cared, because when he drafted people, the Bandits had probably the best draft out of everybody, and here's why. People started drafting people just based off of, oh, I want him on my team, we're friends, yay. Ash saw stats and said, I want. Because he got me in the first round and said this when people were shocked. He said JS is the only JS is the 3-star with the highest batting average in the entire draft. And that's why he picked me. Then he picked Hyro because he needed another center fielder, because when he pitches, then who's going to be in center field? Like, there was all of these different things. Then in the 3rd round, he picked Priest. The 4th round, he picked Swag. The 5th round, he picked Maximus. And then the 6th round, he picked Quinn. And then 7th, he picked Base. And then 8th and 9th don't really matter. But the craziest part is we were down, like, we played the first 2 series. We were 3-1, and Ash was like, okay, Tri-City has a pitcher I want. And then Maximus was like, I don't want to play for the Bandits anymore. And Ash was like, are you going to be active? Maximus was like, yeah. He said, okay, bet. And then traded Sam, which probably, I don't know, did he win Cy Young in season 11? I think he might. He did.
Ashlimmer?
No, Perkins.
Yeah, I believe he ended up winning
Season 11. Perkins won MIP and the Carm Ace Award, which was Cy Young, and he showed to be a monumental pickup from the Bandits, and that basically gave us the jump we needed and gave us the ginormous boost of players and the basically what we needed to get to the World Series we had, because our pitching core was insanely good. Because we had me, we had Ash, we had Perkins. I didn't really pitch as much. Ash kind of fell off. He kept throwing random home runs that were ruining our leads. So Ash kind of hasn't been that solid of a pitcher. I would say that he went into the Omaha tournament this season, which I'll talk about later. But Ash kind of fell off. But Charlotte's pickup with Perkins was probably what we needed, because Perkins also won the Dinger Award, which was the most home runs in the season, which is exactly what was monumental to Charlotte, because of the amount of clutch home runs that he had. So it blows my mind to realize how different the Bandits were just off of one single trade.
Yeah, honestly, when it comes to Sam or SJ Perkins, however you want to say his name, I would definitely say last season, season 11, and this season, season 12, and all respect to Frito and any of the other top pitchers in the league, but Sam is by far the best pitcher I've ever had to go against and coach against. Even with the whole stance, like, he is probably the most successful pitcher against it. Even though the Spartans lost this season in the series, he is definitely by far the best pitcher I've ever played against, and it was like near the level of Karm. Like he was that good, and I told my team, like, look, we got to, at least we're gonna get the games where SJ isn't pitching, but when he is pitching, we're gonna have to be like 10 toes down, like on our A game, because myself and Tough, before we were both rated 5 stars, we both said returning to Unionport this season, we both said, hey, like we should probably target to get Sam, and that was something that was going to be in the works, but because I talked to Sam, and there was a good chance me and Sam wanted to play together as well, because I recognized how good he was. But things ended up happening, and he went with the Spartans, and he was rated a 5 star, which was well deserved in my opinion. But prior to season 11, I don't even really remember Sam being that high on like the player list, because he had shown a lot of inactivity, if I fully remember. So yeah, looking back, and Sam was definitely one of the biggest parts of the Charlotte Bandits last season, and definitely the biggest parts of the Spartans this season. And I think he has a case for MVP, if I'm being completely honest. So yeah, Sam was definitely one of the most influential and most important players to both teams. But going to season 12, you decided to put in an owner application, and you ended up getting awarded the Montreal Islanders. And the first thing I wanted to ask was, why Montreal? I mean, I just remember Montreal looking back. I think they were owned like season 8. I don't
Montreal
remember.
was in the RBC for season 4, 5, 6, and 7 version 1, but it did not return until now.
Right.
But I picked Montreal mainly because of the new massive remodel they got. Because BMO is a beautiful stadium. Like, I cannot disagree with you there. Like, that stadium is amazing, and I just wanted to be Montreal, just Montreal, also because Montreal was a ginormous Bandit rival, and I don't think Ash would have given me the Bandits, so I think me getting Montreal was the closest I could get to being the Bandits again. Like, I mean, granted, I could have gone for Pittsburgh, so, but I didn't. I chose Montreal just because they got a massive renovation, new remodel, new jerseys, all of that, which was amazing. Great work by Doug. But that's basically what wanted me to own. And the only reason I chose to put in an application is because for the past couple of seasons, I've just been putting in applications to see if I have a solid chance. I didn't know I was a front runner until I joined the board. And then I realized, I was like, yeah, I'm like one of the only other owners, other than like Ark and AJ, who will actually be competent enough to own, or good enough to own. Because originally it was High Josh was going to get one of the spots, but then he had his own issue. It was between Spart, AJ, me, and Ark, and I was like, really, the only issue with Spart is the past 3 seasons, he's gone, I'll own, and then he owns for like 2 weeks, and then gives up.
Right.
Because he basically goes, here you go, head coach, have fun. And he did that with Alex, except Alex got banned in season 11, which is why RBC crumbled, because he gave his ownership to nobody.
Right.
Like, so they had no real coaching team, and it was just a mess.
So,
but that was one of the reasons why I was such a front runner in that race. But that's why I chose Montreal.
what's crazy, and this could just be rumors, but I'm pretty sure they're accurate. I submitted my application to return to Unionport, right? And apparently, they were gonna pick AJ over me, but then AJ decided to withdraw, and once he withdrew, that's when they're like, all right, Ark's got the spot. But I just look back and I'm like, yo, I cannot, like, we at that point we had just won the World Series 2 years in a row, and it's kind of like, man. So but when you submitted your application, I was like, okay, this is gonna be something new. This is, let's see how this goes. And I'm sure you remember, almost that your entire team remembers, but me, Ashlemmer, and Spart, we hosted the first podcast of this preseason, and we all had Montreal ranked damn near last, if not last already.
No, we were last.
Yeah, it
We
was
had
last.
such a high draft, but we got put last.
And I remember exactly why. It was just because your roster had a lot of names that there was a couple rookies, such as like Hey Joseph, but that entire roster was filled with unpopular names, like names you wouldn't really, not eye popping. Like you look at Amazon Jungle Cats, we had them ranked second or third just because their team was filled with Hall of Famers. Carm, Chris, Parker, Only King TJ. They also had who was that 4-star? He was on Texas last season. Do you know who I'm talking about? He was like similar to Jif. I don't remember his name. It'll pop up to me eventually. But their roster just looked stacked, and the Montreal roster didn't.
You mean on bench?
No, it wasn't Noku.
He was the only other 4-star because the 4-stars were him, TJ, and on bench.
No, on bench went to Texas and then he got released and then went to Amazon. It was someone else. The name will pop up to me eventually. He was
Admin Rios.
Yes, Admin Rios.
Oh.
Yeah, Admin. So you look at that roster and we're just like, all right, these guys have the experience, they have the knowledge. But honestly, I don't know how many people are basketball fans out there, but you take the Amazon Jungle Cats and they are basically the 2022 Lakers, which means taking a group of Hall of Famers, expecting it to work, expecting it to be a championship, and literally the exact opposite happened. They didn't even win a single game, and it was just so unexpected. But I know exactly why they busted, because some players take losses too much to heart. Like it's okay to be upset and mad, but they lost the preseason tournament, right? And they didn't get a win, and their entire roster freaked out. And everyone of their team either quit or went inactive. And Parker just was fed up, and he did what he could. Respect to him for continuing to be owner, but they just completely melted, But you look at the Montreal Islanders, and literally they remind me of, again, basketball terms related, but they remind me of this year's Memphis Grizzlies. And if you don't watch basketball, what that means is the Memphis Grizzlies last season barely made the playoffs and then were eliminated first round. But this season are like a top 2, top 3 championship contender, and have been casted as favorites by a couple, by a good amount of people out there, right? So just looking at the Montreal Islanders and how you set up that team, I can tell you right now, once we played you in the preseason and we barely escaped with like a 1-run win, I was like, all right, this team's going to be some problems. Because though no one really takes the preseason that serious, you still get an idea of the skill sets and stuff like that. And I believe your entire team was there. You had like a full outfield, full infield. And I was like, okay, this team's active. This team's dangerous. And they're going to be someone we're going to have to watch out for. So yeah. It's unfortunate because it seems like most of the teams, we started out with a super active league. And
it's just started to die out. Yeah, I see that.
You can agree with me or disagree with me on this, but in my opinion, the league definitely lost its activity once we basically told Ashlimmer to like, hey, calm down, like slow down the pace of the games, because once we did that, it was like all the teams took full advantage, and it was like weeks without some games at one point, and a lot of people left. And this is unconfirmed, it's just a rumor, and I'm not going to tell who told me this, but Ryan and PK, had that season not have gone as slow as it did, they would have remained with the Las Vegas Rattlers, and that could have like that's what I've been told.
Ash
by
killed the
closest.
Rattlers for me, thank God.
Yeah, so it's like I just really wish that we didn't tell Ash to slow it down because, like, even the Spartans, people said the Spartans were like gonna be a really tough matchup, and they were. They definitely gave us a run, but one of their things was they were super active. But come
Yeah.
playoffs, they barely had 3, 4 players, sometimes 5. So it's just kind of unfortunate how the league has died down with its activity towards the later end of the season. But regardless, though, Montreal has shown consistency in both activity and play style and skill sets. And like I said, no one expected your team to not only be first seed of RL, but to even make the World Series. You know, it just preseason, no one expected that, and that's why I continue to give you as much praise and respect as I have the entire season. A lot of owners who show that they're unsuccessful, they kind of just like they blame their players, they blame activity, you know, they just have a lot of excuses. But how can you have excuses when JS, your team, filled with a bunch of players who were unpopular,
No
no
one knows who
names.
they are.
Right, no one knew who they were, but yet you were able to take that team to as far as you have. I mean, season's not even over yet, but it's like there's really no excuses. And I compare your season to season 10 of the Union Port because if people remember, no one wanted to sign with us because Unionport has shown like a whole history of just being a trash team. I mean,
Oh God.
I was lucky to get Cool Gunner and Weehawk. I think they just felt bad for me, but my point is that there's really no excuses to being a bad owner. It's really about how much time are you going to put in, how much effort are you going to want to put in. Uh, a lot of people they end up saying like, "Oh, the players don't care." Okay, well, as an owner, you have to understand that yeah, there are going to be players who don't care. So you have to find the ones who are going to care and minimize that the amount of players who don't care as least as possible. It's it's just I don't know. I think you're one of the prime examples of what it takes to be an owner. So, I mean, how did you even end up forming your team? Like just go into the logistics of your roster.
Okay, so let me pull up my correct roster because the spreadsheet hasn't been updated in so long. So whose remains on the roster after I've purged anyone inactive after a certain point in time? It's me, Rock, Thomas, NLJ, Foxconn, Joseph, Rainbow, Six God, and Quinlet. So the way I picked my roster, the people who I signed without drafting, was if I remember correctly, it was Rainbow, Rock, and then the last one, it was Kicker was one of them, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, and then it was Finn. Um, I basically picked those 3 or those 4 because well, I chose Rock because his leadership experience was insane, and how his season was in season 11. His MVP caliber season was exactly what I wanted on my team. Because like I wanted the RL MVP on my team so I could get a chance of being a lot more successful. I wanted a competition in the RL. I wanted to be a threat in the RL because we were looking at the time. It was looking like Amazon was going to be stacked, and it looked like Las Vegas was going to be who knows. Like I didn't really know what to expect from Las Vegas, but I knew I thought of what to expect from Amazon, which completely was the opposite. But I just wanted Rock so I could feel more confident that the threat, and he more of a threat, and he could also lure some people. I chose Rainbow because Rainbow's an old gener who can field in right field. Like I don't think people understand how much playing in right field is a pain to do because right field, it's just shallow for some people, so they can't aim that well or they're not that fast of reacting. But Rainbow being an old gener, he's able to. I chose kicker because Rock was like, hey, kicker was good on Cincinnati. He can be a true pickup. So I chose him. And then Finn always was what I've seen as a good player, so it was like he could be something I could pick up. And those were the people we did signing wise. For the draft, I chose Quinn in the the round before the first round because he was an insane outfielder and he was good at hitting. I picked Joseph because he was a ace pitcher. And then I picked Foxconn. Originally, I picked Foxconn because I was going to trade him, make him some trade bait. But then in the preseason, he showed that he was going to be a valuable asset to the team. So I said, actually, I'll keep him. NLJ was a pickup from the waivers because he got off of, I don't remember. But Thomas was probably my best waiver pickup because Thomas has shown to hit the ball constantly. He's shown to be a good pitcher, and he's shown to be probably someone I can talk to because Rock has been quiet, so I needed someone to for coaching questions to see what I should do with my roster. Thomas has definitely been the one to pick up, and he's rated a 1-star, but he's been playing a 3-star.
Dude, no, absolutely. So one thing I like about Thomas a lot is one thing about the league is the definition of toxicity is it always changes, and it's always funny how we define it. So one thing
half the time it gets pointed at UPS, but
yeah, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. But what I was gonna say is Thomas, I love how competitive he is. It's one of my favorite parts of sports, and obviously in real life and on Roblox as well. Just being able to talk trash, to be a little competitive with one another. It's as long as you're not being excessive or saying anything demeaning, it's all fun. It's just part of the competitive spirit. So watching Thomas play against Las Vegas, I watched him. I was like, okay, this guy, he is definitely a lot better than last season because last season he was on the Raccoons, and I remember playing against him. I was like, dude, this guy's just awful. So just to see how much he improved his skill this season, it's definitely one of the things that's pretty solid, and you just add on the competitive touch onto him. He's definitely one of my favorite players in the league, and like you said, to get him at a 1-star rate, it's definitely a steal. So I like your roster a lot. I mean, hey Joseph, he's obviously go ahead.
He's annoying, but he is crucial. He can hit the ball, and he can definitely field if Rainbow can't, and he also can he could pitch. That's the main reason I picked him. Because I remember I was umping a RBAA game, and he was pitching, and I was like, dang, this dude is actually good. And so I picked him because I've seen him, and that's the only disadvantage of not knowing you're an RBC owner while RBAA is going on, is you don't know if you're supposed to be scouting or not. And when you do, it's too late because RBAA didn't have stats, and that was, I don't know whose fault that was. That was whoever the board of director was that was taking in charge of stats. I remember I was in charge of making sure the league's play was fair. And I think that's one reason the board got on the RBC board, because my vision of making sure the league was fair and all was where it should be, and not where Doug was worried that Ash's vision's gone. And this is a new topic about the board. Originally, the board, they're I would say you can tell that Doug hates Ash when it comes to the board part, because Ash and Doug have two different visions for the league.
Yep.
And Doug's I want it to be more mine because this is my project. It always has been. I don't want it to be what you're thinking it is. Because, RBC, I don't think people understand. RBC was meant to be different from, all the old Gener leagues.
Right, absolutely.
OBL, all of that.
Right,
and
yeah.
It's just so different from how the two leagues different from like all of the old gen leagues to RBC. There's this different aspect, and that's what Doug really likes and wants to keep. But Ash was also just sort of like he was sort of drifting away from that, and that's where Doug was like, as much as I enjoy, I respect you and have your time on the board, and especially after he fired Bag and Kaden, which honestly kind of were both deserved. That's why Ash was fired, because the visions were, I think that's one of the reasons why Ash got fired. But the visions were just so far apart that the board turned in more to a political field than anything else. Where it should be okay, is this right? Should we change anything? Is this fair? Is this not fair? It shouldn't be I want this to be my political like plan on the board, and not just it be what it should be.
Right. Yeah, and when it comes down to the board, I've always felt having a diverse board is best for the league, just because, like, you don't want to have yes men on the board, you know?
Oh, 100% you don't.
And that's
I can confirm there were some yes men on that board.
Right. And that's what was currently going on. So it's kind of like, you take Ash off the board because he has a different vision for the league in itself, but at the same time, it's like, it's basically almost as if it's admitting like, okay, I only want it my way. And if that's the case, then, you know, there's really kind of no point of having a board, which is basically what it is right now. I mean, Parker left the league. It's just Doug as the commissioner, and somehow Flacco as director of gameplay integrity, and goddamn Rockefeller, who hasn't really been a part of the RBC, which, I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, we're all starting to get older. We all become a lot more busy. So, I mean, if Doug really wanted it to just be his own vision, that's pretty much what he's got right now. I mean, he has full control over what happens for this league. And if there is a next season, a season 13, which honestly, I'm kind of doubtful. I know every season it's like, oh, we're going to have another season. We'll be fine. But just knowing Doug and my past conversations with Doug, it's going to end eventually, right? And
yeah,
we always are just like, oh, one more. And I would love for there to be a summer season because, I mean, this season we started off active, and obviously that died out. But you come into the summer, everyone's off of school, it's going to be a lot more activity, a lot more fun, maybe even more teams, possibly, who knows. But I do know that, you know, Doug isn't even in school anymore, so it's not like he has like a summer break and he's working. He just has a career now. So it's like, yeah, we could have a summer league, but at the end of the day, this started with Doug and it's going to die with Doug. And I just know that just based off my conversations with him, you know, and he doesn't trust anyone to continue it, because every time he's left, like he's gone inactive, it kind of seems like in his perspective something big happens, some crazy thing just happens, and then he gets pissed off, you know. So, and that's happened a lot.
Yeah.
So
I think one thing that backs up that claim was back in season 10. What was that? What happened? It was Josh. Josh decided to be an absolute dumbass, and he decided to take a screenshot of Ash's location on Snapchat and then post it in the RBC general, and then instantly deleted it after many people saw it. Which is where everyone was like, okay, why the hell is Josh still here? Because he got slapped with a 5-game suspension. And what Doug said for the reason why it was 5 games is, I don't want the RL to be under complete control of Charlotte. And I'm like, I tell that to him now. I said, yeah, you say that, yet in season 11 you exiled Alex on the spot.
Right.
And that ruins Rock Valley, and that basically made me want to run for board of directors even more, is because I wanted to make the suspension guidelines so much more consistent, because I was tired of someone exploiting, getting exiled, someone doxing, not getting exiled, but for him to get exiled for a completely less like threatening crime, which was ulting ring. That's what basically said Doug was like, bye. Which, fun fact, Doug was originally like, we should give him a second chance. But me and Ash spent, I think, a solid 2 hours going, Doug, listen, this dude's been on thin ice since season 10. He basically just fell right through it, and now you're trying to help him out of it. What's the point of putting him on thin ice if you're just gonna let him back? And me and Ash basically argued with it for a good solid hour or two. But then it came to light that Josh also ulted in RBA. It was like RBC's minor leagues back in season 7 because he admitted that he had an ult and claimed that he didn't ever play on it, even though he was wearing a Seals uniform from season 7. So that's where Doug was like, in light of this new information, I can't keep him in the league, which kind of still pisses me off because an ult is what keeps him out of the league, but doxing someone keeps him in. So, like, if I really wanted to, I could go dox someone and I get slapped with 5 games suspension and not just an exile, even though that should have been an exile on the spot. Like, that shouldn't have been where it was 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing, because Doug went missing. Doug didn't go missing. He went to spend time with his family, I think it was. And he came back, and he was like, wow, this league went to hell. And in that instance of him going away, it caused him to go, okay, this league is no more. This is the final season. I was going to confirm a season 11, but I lied. This is the final season, end of discussion. Just for him to bring it back a couple months later.
Yeah, but season 10 was definitely one of... I mean, I don't know how people say that this season was more toxic. I definitely disagree. I think season 10 was definitely the worst season in terms of toxicity across the entire league. Just because we ended up... So, I was on the board, I believe.
You were on the board in season...
I think it was season 10. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and in season 10, I told Doug, I was like, hey, I want to help out. And I was basically in charge of advertising. So I had the graphics made of him and myself. And then I ended up putting like 10,000 Robux into it. And I got like a couple, like, I think I got like 200 members to join. But what ended up happening was we didn't have a good process of who was going to be in or not, and because of that, we let in a lot of toxic people, and it just kind of ruined the league. You know, like you look at the SoCal Bullets, that was one of the biggest downfalls. You know,
don't mention that bust of a team.
Yeah.
SoCal was... It was also, like, lack of ownership experience. Because it was Dewalt McGinty's first ever owning gig. So, like, there was that lack of experience right there alone. And that definitely caused a bit of, like, backlash.
Right.
But... Other than that, it was just season 10. Season 10 was a great season, other than the toxicity and everything that happened, like, other than baseball games.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and so, I mean, it's unfortunate the way that I looked at the league myself, because there was one point where I was like, I was kind of like one of Doug's like right hand mans at one point. Obviously, it's not what it is anymore. But the way that I envisioned
he hates you now.
The way that I envisioned it was like, okay, we could definitely like, RBC it's so unique compared to the rest of the Roblox leagues in baseball. And I was like, if more people knew about this, it could blow up. And what I'd always hope for is to expand the amount of teams, the amount of players, the, you know, different skill sets. You know, I was kind of tired of, you know, like, all right, this guy's the top player and he's consistently the top player every season, and there's no new rookies, you know, or anything like that. And I was tired of that. So like the way I envisioned it was, okay, I'm gonna help try and blow this league up as much as possible. You know, but obviously when it came to season 10, it was just a rush of toxic players, you know, and it's just unfortunate because I know because of that is why Doug has he put even more of his foot to the ground of he doesn't really want any new players. So the fact that we got players such as Zyron, Hey Joseph, and just a couple of rookies from last season even as well was pretty significant because I love that Hey Joseph is one of the top players on Montreal. Like it's one of my favorite stories. Some people may call him annoying or toxic, whatever. Like I really don't care that much because as long as he's not doing anything demeaning
Illegal.
or that, right? Yeah. So I mean, I've said a lot. I've said a lot within the year, like, and a lot of people give me shit for it. But I said you gotta adjust to the new ways or die with the old, right? And it's not just with the new gameplay and the new style, but the newer players, the newer generations, I would definitely say it's just taking over. Like I said, look at Amazon, right? Chris, Carm, TJ, that entire team. You take them season 6, season 7, one of those past seasons, they're a World Series favorite. But I mean, it just goes to show like the players of the old are past their primes. Even Doug himself, granted he's a 4-star, and he still is a good
Dangerous.
player. He's still a good player. You can't say that he's the same player as he was a couple seasons ago. Like they call him Dinger Doug for a reason. So, this season is probably one of my favorite seasons just because of the new influx of players. Despite the failure of RBAA, it did bring in new players, new skill sets, new fresh meat, and I hope that if we do have a season 13, I can work with Doug to continue to bring another set of new rookies, because it's going to suck when the league dies and the newer players, the newer rookies won't ever have the memories that we have. They won't be able to look back and say like, oh, I remember a couple seasons ago, this happened. Like they're just going to have the one season.
A couple seasons ago, you weren't here.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's just unfortunate. Hopefully, we'll see. I'm up for whatever happens. With all that being said, the only thing we have left is the current World Series, and I hope Rockefeller shows up because
Rock and I are discussing it, hopefully for him to show, and that's the only issue is the times that we've both agreed on. He hasn't been able to. And I don't want to wait for him because then the people are going to complain, Montreal's taking too long to schedule. But I know UPS would. I know y'all hate playing in the World Series and possibly losing it. Like, you'd rather us win, or we all win, like, instantly. But I want y'all to have a competition because the only issue with last night is our players were not in the mindset. Like, it was a lack of. It truly was a lack of positive mindset. Because we were, one of our, Rainbow was having, he was struggling focusing because he had, a cousin over. So he was still struggling, focusing and making those plays in the outfield. Joseph was having unlucky internet issues, which realistically was weird because Roblox was like, let's put the servers in Chicago. Hang on, let me see where the servers are in here, because I was the first person to join. Meanwhile, it doesn't show me for some reason. But the servers were in Chicago, even though I was the host, and I was in. I'm in North Carolina. I'm nowhere near Chicago, so there was the latency issues. Oh, but back, in RLCS Game 5, I was the first to join, and the servers were in London. I don't know why. I think it's because Zyron and I joined around the exact same time, so I don't know by that. But it was just mainly our players were ready, but they weren't fully. I don't know then, Zyron. I don't know why it threw us in London. But I think game 2 coming around, I'm gonna put who I think will be good on the mound, and then we'll have a great fielding, and then we'll succeed.
Yeah, I mean, we don't gotta discuss strategy or anything like that, but like,
Tell me your strategy now.
no, what I was gonna say was like, no one really, I don't really think people understand like this could be the last set series ever. You know, like
Yeah.
this really could be it for everyone. Like I even said it when Las Vegas lost Game 5 in the RLCS.
Probably the end of their careers.
Right. That's exactly what I said was, you know, if this is the end, you know, it will be one of the most unfortunate endings for that team because that team was entirely filled with rookies and sophomores, other than Broken, who obviously is a veteran.
He's a very old veteran.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I just realized
Hmm.
if this is indeed the end of RBC, Parker's last victory in a game was in season 11 RLDS game 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he didn't even get a win this season, which is disappointing to say, but like one team has to have the weaklings. Like that's gonna happen. That's just him being unlucky with who he picked. But that's it. There's not much to it other than you either pick a good squad that you can either make improve or they're already great, or you're unlucky and you get everyone who's like wanting to win day one. Like I told my guys, I said, hey, listen, we're in the preseason right now. Sure, if we win, it'll be great because people's momentum on us will be a lot more than they were expecting. Because like I think we already had momentum going into the preseason tournament when you guys were like, Montreal did not do well signing wise, and I'm putting them at the bottom of the league, and it turned out that we were the number 2 team in the league. So that was one thing that boosted our momentum. But I was like, guys, this is preseason. I want to win it all in the preseason. I want to give the league a hey, we're not kidding when we want to play baseball, but I don't want to go in and stress out instantly. And I think they understood that because we had a blast. Like the VCs, especially when we played Texas. Oh my God, they were funny. Like we were just having the time of our lives, and that's what I wanted to see. And that's where our team went. We were just having fun on the field. Granted, this is going to be my confirmed last season. I've already confirmed it. If there's another season, that's great, but I'm not returning because as much as RBC has been there for like a lot of my life, I think there's got to be a point where this league can go on, but my career can just rest.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, from what a lot of people said, it sounds like that's going to be the exact same thing for a lot of people, regardless of if there's a new season or not, which, because of the many statements like that, probably have an influence on whether Doug will make a new season. Just because I know there's a hard time trusting in new leadership and new players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? Who knows? And it's just been overall really crazy. But you know what's even crazier was the RLCS, and that's why I wanted.
The RLCS was a chaotic series.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk to you about. Game 1, you guys were up a couple runs, and then you left. And as soon as you left, Las Vegas Rattlers ended up coming back, winning in the last inning. And I remember saying, I was just like, you know, like the Montreal Islanders definitely could have won that game. Like they just gave it up, and Las Vegas took full advantage. And then Game 2 was in a forfeit, unfortunately. But then Game 3, it was like the exact same thing. You guys were up by 10 runs, you know, at one point, and in the last inning, it just seemed like you guys gave it up. And I was worried. I was really worried because overall, when you take PK and Ryan off of Las Vegas, that's their star outfielders. The rest of the team, though they could be good at, you know, batting, they're not really designated as an outfielder. So I was worried for Montreal because it was like, okay, that's back-to-back games where y'all just gave up the runs. But then with that mindset,
we committed football score.
Yep, and then with that mindset, coming to Game 4, you guys won 34-7 and broke a record of the most runs scored in a playoff game in RBC history.
No, it was overall.
Overall.
Yeah. It was funny because we tied it against Las Vegas in the last game of the season.
Oh, okay.
Because it was Series 7 Game 2 we were trying to clinch the first seed, and we scored. And that's the thing with Las Vegas. Their only pitcher was Zyron. And my mindset going into the RLCS is, listen, if we win at least one game with Zyron on the mound, it's over for them, because without Zyron, we can hit the ball and we can show who actually deserves to be in the World Series. Which you saw, Game 4, Zyron wasn't pitching. Guess who scored 34 runs? We did. Zyron was just a weakness, but I noticed game 3, we were like, okay, we know how to hit off Zyron. We know how to defeat him. We took that mentality into Game 5. We knew how he was gonna pitch, and we started getting hitting those balls where we needed to, and we hit them gaps. We got on base, and we basically got the momentum we needed. Because after that home run by Rye in the 3rd inning, I think it was, our momentum really shot down. But then after we got that one single run that lowered their 4-run lead to a 3-run lead, my confidence boosted. Because I was like, look guys, look at this. We just scored off of not hitting a home run, meaning we can do this. And then me hitting 2 home runs that almost tied it and then gave us the lead is exactly what we needed, because then we had the lead. Us giving up 2 runs, I was not concerned at all, because as long as they kept it tied, we could have gone into the bottom of the 6th and basically said no thank you. And that's what Fox did on like the 3rd pitch of the at bat. He took it deep into left field and bounced off Pisano's pizza.
Yeah, honestly, I just look at that series and it was a great series overall. I mean, despite Game 4, that complete blowout, Game 5, the fact that Las Vegas ended up tying it and just to survive for another chance to continue on, like that game was so close overall, and it was obviously, it's been one of my favorite series in the past couple seasons. But I just wish, I can't imagine what it'd be like had both rosters been fully loaded. I mean, Rockefeller was there, Ryan and PK were there.
If our rosters were fully loaded, I don't think Montreal would have struggled as much as they did.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've been missing Rock for most of the season now, and he's probably one of our star outfielders. So him not being in the outfield has really changed the mentality of our field, because without him in the outfield, we basically have a bunch of 1 to 2-year players just out there. Because with Joseph on the mound, it would be me in the outfield, so the only actual veteran, and then Fox in left, Rainbow in right. Rainbow joined the league halfway through the season last year, so he was still technically considered a rookie. Fox joined in season 10, but didn't really have a big season until this season. So there was definitely that change. And then when Thomas was on the mound, it would be either the same outfield or Joseph would be in the outfield, but the outfield was always younger players.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, you put Rockefeller in that series. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's the amount of mistakes. I mean, one player
would have disappeared probably.
I don't know if every single mistake would have disappeared, but I mean, there would be a good margin of improvement for sure. Because I mean, for everyone who doesn't know, Rockefeller, he won the MVP last season. I won the MVP last season. And there was actually a good chance me and Rock were going to team up this season. Star cap and all that stuff. Broke that up. But anyways, moving on. Rockefeller, I remember he pitched against us, and one of his one of the things he does most is as soon as he pitches, he runs at the batter and takes his glove out, and he gets these insane catches, But that's just one of the things that I love about him. He's a dangerous player, and he didn't win the MVP season by a fluke. He proved his dominance, and he wasn't even a stance user. He was pure, played just the way of the old RBC pretty much. So you put him in that series, yeah, you're right. There's definitely a margin of improvement. But the reason why I say both rosters fully loaded was because watching the games that I streamed, Las Vegas, their outfield, I mean, Broken, Beatriz, Rye Guy. Like, it was embarrassing watching them field. Like, they would be right in front of it and somehow miss it and let the ball roll against the fence, and then what should have been a out at first, it turns into a double. You know, and it was ridiculous. So that's why I say, like, you put Ryan and PK out there, their margin of improvement is just as significant. So regardless of full rosters or depleted rosters, it was going to be a competitive series, and I think it lived up to expectations. And granted, Las Vegas and Montreal, again, they were predicted to be the two worst teams in the RBC, and to have such a competitive series the way it happened, it's just props to both teams. But I mean, props to Montreal obviously for winning, especially because they were voted last, and then props to Las Vegas. You know, a team filled with rookies and sophomores and one or two vets, who played without their team owner, Caden. Granted, Caden is busy. I mean, most of the top teams are on the older side, but just huge props to them for being able to take it as far as they did.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one of my favorite series.
Aiden he was originally at the beginning of the season, he was something that my players were struggling with, because he would be all over the mound, and I said, guys, listen, you are looking at, they would look at where he is on the mound, and it would change their entire perception of the at-bat, and I'd literally say, guys, screw where he is on the mound. Literally just look at the zone, watch the ball, and if it shows up in the strike zone, swing and hit it. And that truly happened, because then Caden would start giving up massive hits that if I didn't tell my team, this is what you need to fix, we wouldn't have been where we were. Like, because Caden would have probably dominated my team's pit batting, which he didn't, because I was like, guys, don't look at where he's standing, because his standing anywhere else on the mound, sure, it used to mean something, but if you know where to sit, or if you know where to like watch, you'll be fine. And that's the thing with people standing on different parts of the mound. Like, it doesn't really affect where the ball goes, because I could be on the left side of the mound and I could throw it into the right corner and you guys wouldn't expect it. However, I just told you that, so I'm not gonna do it. But I hate being shut up. But yeah, there was all of those things that pitching was a major issue with my team. Like, they're like not understanding how to hit styles. But ever since the implement of the zone, especially in season 11, I was able to read people's pitches a lot better, and that showed in my stats, because in season, hang on, I'll actually pull that up because I actually remember that. Hang on, give me a second. Because in season 10, okay, season 11 was right here. In season 10, I batted. Where the hell is it? Oh, hi, it's right here. I batted .415 and had 3 home runs and 22 hits. This season, I had 30 hits, 5 home runs, and I batted .441. And that's with the zone. So I was definitely able to read the pitchers. And that's where my RBIs would come in play, and that's where I'd help the team. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, that's pretty much all I really have for today. You know, honestly, this is probably my favorite episode so far. I mean, Tough and it was a good conversation,
Tough,
but it was good.
suck.
No, not like that. Not like that. It was still a good time. But it was good. I really liked it. I enjoyed this. But before we end it off, do you have anything you want to leave it off with? Any comments? You know, anything like that?
Since the next time RBN will do a podcast with me on it, because I'm only going to be on the show once, as that makes still a lot of sense. I am, regardless of what happens in the World Series, I am still really happy with where my team was. Because at the beginning of the season, I had no faith. Like, I'm not trying to be mean to like my guys, but like literally, I had no faith because I didn't think that they were gonna be able to pull off this massive, unexpected, uh, like thing where they would just pop off. Because like I wasn't expecting this to happen, but to be able to be the number one team in the RL, the number two team in the RBC, be in the World Series, win the RLCS, all of those things at the beginning of the season, I didn't expect to happen. I was worried that we were going to have an issue fighting for the number two seed because again, Amazon was as much as a threat on paper, but not really. But I realized I was like, I was more concerned about fighting for a playoff spot than fighting for the number one seed, which we got. So yeah, I'm really proud of how far our team has gone and how we actually did overall, over than just like, oh no, you didn't win the World Series. Oh well, when you have a bunch of players who've been in the league for at most 2 seasons, you're not gonna get, you might win the World Series, but to get as far as you did, that's like crazy, and that's truly what I'm very proud of my players for. And that's all I gotta say is I'm proud of my team for being as good as they are, and we can play in the World Series and hopefully give UPS a good fight and maybe win it, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in this World Series. Proud of your team, and I appreciate you coming on. It was we will probably end up doing another podcast, maybe not for this show, but just a review of the season overall. So a different segment, but we'll talk again on RBN eventually. So no worries there.
Oh,
but,
of course, yeah.
So appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much, and thank you if you stayed and watched. This is going to be the end of episode 2 of the Old Man and RBC. Once again, thank you to JS, and I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. All right, we're signing off.